Today in Citizens Brief, we are joined with Brigadier General Felix Kuleje, who is the defense spokesperson. We want to understand the UPDF establishment of 2021. Brigadier,
yes,
it's a pleasure having you in Citizens Brief. And just to start with, we want you to take us through the evolution of the Ugandan Army, just to give it a start so that people can really understand the establishment.
now when you see the Ugandan army, are you looking at the army since Uganda became a country?
No,
or you're looking at the current army?
NRA.
Okay.
Yeah, from NRA.
The evolution starts with the PRA, Popular Resistance Army. The attack on Kabamba was done by Popular Resistance Army on the 6th of February 1981. And after meeting some people from UFF, Uganda Freedom Fighters, that time it was headed by late Professor Rule. They signed an MOU of working together, merged forces, and so NRA was born. Way back, I think, 1983. Then, so the capture of Kampala is done by NRA, 1986, January 26th. The promulgation of the Constitution of 1995 baptizes us to UPDF. There were, maybe for the benefit of your viewers, there were debates of calling us Uganda Army again, and we said, what? Uganda Army? You fear just that cap of Uganda Army. What about now the naming? We said no. Others proposed UNLA, which we had just defeated. We said no. Until somebody proposed Uganda People's Defense Forces. And our delegates in the CES said, that one, yes, because that's what we are. So the 1995 Constitution baptizes us UPDF. And that's what we are. And we intend to be that.
Okay.
Until the people of Uganda decide otherwise.
Now, looking at the establishment of 2021, what was the need for these reforms?
First and foremost, we are on the road of professionalization. Not two, because professionalization is a process.
Yes.
Now, effective the Defense White Paper of 2004, which identified the future threats, and therefore identified the solution to those threats. And the solution to those threats gives you the desired establishment of the UPDF. So the establishment sets out to give you the command and the control and the management of the UPDF. It gives you the reporting methodology of the various arms and the services. It gives you the nomenclature, the naming of the various offices. Actually, effective 17th, I am Defense Public Information Officer.
No longer
DSP. It's Defense Public Information Officer.
Okay.
So next time when you see me in a tie, don't be surprised. Because then I belong to the Ministry of Defense, which superintends over the entire UPDF. The one who didn't change, of course, is CDF. The title remained the same. But he's a principal clerk, the Joint Chief of Staff. The title changed to Chief Joint Staff. Chief of Joint Staff. And all the chiefs under him carry that nomenclature, but something additional. But for example, the person in charge of personnel, who was Chief of Personnel and Administration, is now Chief of Joint Staff, Human Resource. Okay? So it changed the nomenclature of the various departments and organs in the UPDF. Two, it establishes, like I said, reporting lines.
Yeah.
Whom do I report to? whom does the commander, for example, of the artillery report to? Those kind of things. Yes, many of them, majority of them have been in existence, but they were never in writing. It's an inherited methodology we have been following. However, the defense white paper streamlined how we should be called, how we should be running the army, the military. 3, the UPDF began with one service, the land forces, what we would ordinarily call the army.
Yes.
The Air Force was a directorate within the land forces. Now, the Air Force is a service on its own, with a clear command structure. How is it run? It is provided for in the establishment. We did not have a Special Forces Command as a service. Now we have it. All the way from a unit called the Presidential Protection Unit to now a fully established or fledged service with its own command structures and what have you. How does it report? How does it operate? How is it run? That's provided in the establishment. So I saw somebody whom they deceive themselves as an expert, trying to call it a PR stunt. No, and I think it is humility. It is a quality to seek information when you don't know, rather than pretending you know and then you do a disservice. We have taken 7 years on this thing and you're calling it PR? It's an insult to our intellect, you know? So we painstakingly put effort, put our best to this establishment. I don't know whether you have seen the size.
Yeah.
It's quite a voluminous thing. So it can't be for PR. It set out certain all things to be clear, so that you no longer gamble on how you run your office. It is clearly established. Then we have another service, the reserve force. Now the establishment establishes exactly how it is set up, how it is managed and run. It has a commander, who is Lieutenant General Charles Otema now. He has a deputy commander, Major General Hudson Mukasa. It has a chief of staff. It has its own administrative structure. Now, that the National Reserve Force is not something we take just for veterans. No. A reserve force is where you fall back to in the cases of emergencies, in the case of a major war, you know. So you must establish. So we have now 4 services from 1. Therefore, the need to put clearly how the management will be done of these 4 services.
Okay.
Yes.
Now that these are clear, how is it going to make service delivery even more easy?
You see now, instead of a soldier running to Mbuya, to the Joint Services headquarters, he will go to the headquarters of the service he belongs to. Because the establishment so this establishes the decentralization of resources. That you don't have now the budget for land forces being managed at Joint Services. Air Force the same. So each service will have an undersecretary to manage the resources that come from the ministry. Yes.
Is there any way with the civilians are going to benefit out of this establishment?
Better service delivery.
Okay.
Better service delivery, efficiency, and effectiveness in the way we do our work. For example, if we were taking, say, 2-3 days to be in a certain place, because the letters have to come from Mbuya, now the person will drive to Entebbe if he's from Air Force, or rather we communicate with Air Force headquarters, and the communication is done, and the resources from Air Force will arrive where you want them in maybe a day or maximum 2 instead of taking a week. So effective service delivery is what you're going to benefit from. Yes.
There is something you said as we're starting that UPDF is on the road of professionalism.
Professionalization.
Professionalization.
Right.
Should we expect any another establishment to come in the future, or this is now the final?
You see, security is dynamic. we are now looking at security on 3 dimensions: land, air, and the sea, and water, the lakes. But we are moving towards the security in the space. We ought to have that addendum excuse me, on how that will be managed. Certainly, we are going to move to that space as well, to that security establishment, so that we have the 4 dimensions that security is provided today. We need to know, to see who is coming from above, who is coming towards our border. Yes.
Okay. That is. I think that is actually very, very good. Like you said, re-emphasize that this is not a PR stunt, but it is.
I mean, you see, you do PR for an objective.
Yes.
What was the objective of this PR? For us, it's an important milestone. It was presented to the High Command and passed by the Army Council, the Defense Forces Council, the highest police organ of the UPDF. So you can't call it a PR stunt. No. It's a very important milestone we have achieved, that we finally have, like the Christians have the Bible,
Yes.
which set out how a Christian should behave as an individual, as part of a society, behave towards the other, behave towards his creator. The same with us. The establishment establishes the relationships between the services, the relationships between the various leaders within these services, and the reporting mechanisms. It means also it establishes who should have what. If I'm brigade commander, for example, what should I expect to have? Not only in terms of financial resources, but also equipment. So it's very wide. And that's why it's not a public document. It's internal, for internal management. I know some people are saying, but can you look at it? Yes, you can look at it as a book. But reading it, no, it's not for public consumption. Okay. Yes.
Lastly, Brigadier, what are some of the common reforms? I know you've talked about one, for example, your office, but I mean some of the changes that are going to happen because when someone hears an officer being addressed a different way, they shouldn't worry. It is the same office, but that has changed.
The other one you commonly know is the CMI, Chief of Military Intelligence.
Yes.
Now will be Chief, Joint Chief Staff Officer, Military Intelligence and Security. Joint Chief of Joint Staff, Chief of Joint Staff, Intelligence and Security. Not CMI anymore. And like others, like I gave you the case of the personnel.
Yes.
That is a CJS personnel, I mean human resource. All right? Whereas the chiefs of staffs of services will remain chief of staff. All right? And they still remain reporting to the joint chief of joint staff. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brigadier, and thank you so much to you, viewer. News at 8 continues here on Church of Uganda Family TV. This was Citizens Brief.